Okay, so for the next little bit, I'm showing you how to make the like full body platform. And so they need to be able to comfortably sit on it, stand and down. So that's where these measurements come in. That you can kind of see me doing with my dogs. So the current one I'm just kind of playing with is Kizzy. And I'll show you with this dog as well as my other one, my puppy. Just to kind of show you how different ways dogs might work with this part. Um, so basically, when I got him in the sit, I kind of just guesstimate for me personally. I want about an inch on each side for um dogs who've never done this before. So you probably won't make them quite as tight as the ones I'm making for my dogs, since they're a bit more advanced. But you don't want to give excess room for the dog to be incorrect, because the whole point in using these boards is so it encourages straightness. So if they have too much room to be crooked, we've kind of just made the whole board obsolete. So about an inch on each side of their feet, both left, right, and like forward, backwards is about where you want to be. Mine are probably closer to about half an inch off their legs, because I really like them at this point to be pretty precise. Um, but since y'all are new, definitely make it a bit easier for your dogs, because we can always cut off more on the boards as they get better at this. Okay, so you saw me measuring out Kizzy and kind of just getting him to sit, getting him to down, and just marking different marks with pens. And then once I figured out what I wanted, I used more board to make my straight lines. So I'm just marking those different lines right now, so when I'm ready to cut, they're there. Okay, so this is the same process, but with my other dog, my puppy Rocket. Um, Surprisingly, he was actually better at this than Kizzy. He was a bit more cooperative. Um, So I'm kind of doing the same thing. He's in a sit, and it's a nice straight sit. He's not sitting crooked. He's not sitting funky. It's just a nice, pretty sit. Um, and I marked just pretty much right outside of his toe, because he's been on boards for months as well. So the same thing. I have trouble with him more than so with Kizzy doing the down this way, because he's longer than Kiz. So you can kind of see me messing around with this here, and eventually I switch sides, so I can mark with my left hand. So he's not in a great down there. Okay, so let's see. Almost. There's our down. And I just want to know how long it is essentially that I need. So I just marked pretty much about half an inch off the back of his butt. Um, Length doesn't matter as much for these boards. The biggest concern is width, is making it about an inch on each side of their legs. And just making sure it's like similar for both their sit and the down. So I just double check. I do both the sit and the down when I'm measuring these out, and go with whatever one's bigger. Um, and yeah, that's basically that for there. And so I just marked off Rocket's board measurements, since that's the board I'm making today. And here I am cutting out the boards. Um, and yeah, once I get these cut out, then I'll put them together. Oh, and here I am just measuring out, and marking off where I need to cut, like my, the mat I have. So I'm just taking one layer of the foam and I put it down like pretty much in a corner on the mat, and I just marked it off so I can cut it out easy. Okay, so when putting all of this together, I do like to make sure it's very stable and very even and that I've got all my pieces together, because when you put like the big slides of tape on later, um, if you don't like put these little guide tapes almost on, it makes it like too slidey and everything just tends to be off if you don't stabilize it somehow. So that's what I'm doing here is I'm just making sure all my corners are together and getting the two halves together just so I don't have to worry about it as I put the whole thing together. So there's that, and then I'm putting my pad on and just cutting a little snippet off that I cut out a little bit too big. Okay, and so this whole part is kind of similar to how I put together um like the front foot target. So I lay the tape on the bottom basically, and I overlap it to the top. And I make sure there's like a nice squish and everything's kind of how I want it, so that kind of my guide tape again. Um, so nothing slips and slides as we continue. And then from there, I kind of just overlap my tapes so that there's no gaps where you can see the foam. So you can kind of see me messing with it here. And then I bring those two up. And at that point, I don't bother cutting them right now. I'll do that in a little bit. I just cut that first one to kind of give me like a way in to cut and like a guideline to cut. You'll see in a second. And so this part is very similar to how I do the front foot target is I cut out like the little corners so I can make my corners real nice, and I bring up the middle section and I bring up the sides and then kind of fold the top and fold down, fold top, fold down. And it just makes for really nice corners. And then I'm just gonna do the same thing on this side. It was a little short for me to do another big tape, so I did a little tape slide there. And then here's my big tape slide. And same thing for those nice corners. You just snip, snip, fold that middle piece up, fold the side up, fold the side up, and then snip right there, and then fold the middle, and fold the top and down, and then snip, fold the middle, fold the top, fold down for those nice edges. And then here, so that's why I cut the middle piece and not the others, and so it kind of gives me a way in, but then I can just cut the whole line that I like at this point to get like the shortness on the edges that I like. Um, See, that's what I'm doing here. Okay. And then once that's done, we're pretty close to the end. You can see I'm just measuring that out about right there. I'm going along the whole way and then just bringing it all the way down real tight just to cover up the last of that foam. I'm doing that same thing to the other side. And I'm just really making sure my like foam pad is like as like straight and level and not bubbly essentially as I can get it. And there you go. I'm just smoothing everything out real good.